Good evening, dear listener, as the world quiets and the stars begin their gentle watch. Settle in, let the day's weight slip away, and imagine a soft breeze carrying you back through time. Picture the Nile's shimmering ribbon under a crescent moon, its waters whispering secrets of a civilization long gone. The air hums with life, crickets, distant voices, the rustle of papyrus reeds. You're not just visiting ancient Egypt, you're stepping into its pulse, its heat, its unrelenting rhythm. This is no museum display. This is a world alive. And you're about to discover why surviving even a single day here might be more than you bargained for. You blink, and it's dawn. The sun hasn't yet risen, but the air already feels thick, clinging to your skin like a second layer. You stand on the Nile's eastern bank, the year somewhere around 2500 BC, though no one here would mark time that way. Mud brick houses cluster nearby, their flat roofs stark against the fading indigo sky. The river laps gently, its surface a mirror for the first pink streaks of morning. You inhale, expecting freshness, but instead catch a mix of damp earth, fish, and something faintly sour, perhaps the residue of yesterday's labor. Your modern shoes sink slightly into the silted shore, and you wonder if you should have packed sandals. Spoiler, you should have. A fisherman nearby hauls in his net, his movements slow but practiced, as if he's done this every dawn for a lifetime. He glances at you, his eyes narrowing. You're an oddity here, your clothes, your posture, the way you stand gawking at what's ordinary to him. You try a smile, but he turns back to his work. No time for strangers when survival demands focus. The Nile is Egypt's lifeblood, you recall, not just a pretty backdrop. It feeds crops, carries goods, and sustains millions. But it's also unpredictable, and you're about to learn how deeply it shapes every moment of existence. You take a step, and the ground squelches beneath you. The riverbank is fertile but treacherous, a patchwork of mud and reeds. You notice women nearby, crouched, filling clay jars with water. Their chatter is rhythmic, almost musical. But you catch no words, only the cadence of a language long lost to time. Hieroglyphs flash in your mind, those elegant symbols you've seen in books, but here, they're not yet carved on temple walls. They're ideas, stories, prayers, alive in the minds of these people. You wonder what they'd make of your alphabet, your emojis. Probably think you're scribbling like a child. The air warms as the sun crests the horizon, painting the desert beyond in hues of gold and amber. You shield your eyes, already feeling a prickle of sweat. This is no leisurely vacation. The day is starting, and you're expected to keep up. A man approaches, his linen kilt stained but neatly tied. He gestures toward a cluster of workers heading to the fields. "Come," he seems to say, though his words are foreign. You hesitate. Fields? You're more of a desk job type, but there's no opting out here. Survival means work, and work means blending in. As you follow, you pass a small shrine, a stone carved with a falcon-headed figure. Horus, you guess, the god of kingship. A woman places a loaf of bread at its base, her lips moving in silent prayer. Religion isn't a weekend hobby here. It's woven into every action. You wonder if you'd remember all the gods' names: Ra, Osiris, Isis, dozens more. Forgetting one might offend someone. And you're already on thin ice as the new guy. The workers ahead move with purpose, their feet kicking up dust. You notice their sandals, woven from reeds, and glance at your soggy sneakers. First lesson of ancient Egypt: footwear matters. Your guide points to a canal branching off the Nile, its water sluggish but vital. This is how the fields stay green, how the desert is held at bay. You marvel at the ingenuity, miles of canals, dug by hand, maintained through sheer will. But there's no time to gawk. The group reaches a barley field, and you're handed a wooden hoe. It's heavier than it looks, its handle worn smooth by countless hands. You mimic the others, digging into the soil, but your first swing is clumsy, earning a few smirks. You laugh it off. But your arms already ache. Modern gyms didn't prepare you for this. The sun climbs higher, and the heat begins to feel personal. You wipe your brow, wishing for sunglasses, a hat, anything. The workers don't complain. They sing, their voices low and steady, a melody that keeps the rhythm of their hose. You try to hum along, but your throat's dry. Water, you think. But the nearest jar is back by the river. You're not dying of thirst yet, but the thought nags, how do they do this all day? Historians still debate whether these laborers were slaves or willing workers, paid in bread and beer. Either way, you're feeling less romantic about the glory of ancient Egypt. A boy darts past, chasing a stray goose, and you chuckle. Geese, apparently, are as chaotic here as anywhere. But the moment's levity fades as you notice the boy's thin frame, his ribs faintly visible. Food is plentiful when the Nile cooperates, but floods or droughts can spell hunger. You're lucky today's a good year, but the fragility of this world is clear. You dig again, the hole biting into the earth, and your mind wanders to air conditioning, iced coffee, all the comforts you took for granted. Here, comfort is a full stomach and a moment's shade. As the morning stretches, you spot a peculiar sight. A woman rubbing a paste on her arms, its faint fishy smell carrying on the breeze. You learn later it's a sunscreen of sorts, made from crocodile dung and oils. Effective, maybe, but you'll pass. Your modern sensibilities recoil, but you can't help admiring their resourcefulness. Everything here is used, repurposed, revered. Nothing goes to waste, not even dung. You glance at the Nile again, its waters catching the sunlight. It's beautiful, yes, but it's also a taskmaster, demanding your labor, your respect. Your survival. The workers pause, passing around a jug of murky beer. You take a sip, expecting refreshment, but it's warm, gritty, more like liquid bread. You force a smile, not wanting to seem ungrateful. They laugh, sensing your discomfort, and you laugh too, the moment softening the divide between you. But the sun's still rising, and the day's only begun. You're already tired, your hands blistered, your clothes damp with sweat. Surviving a day in ancient Egypt, you realize, isn't just about enduring the heat or the work. It's about adapting to a world that doesn't care if you're ready. The sun is no longer a gentle glow on the horizon, it's a relentless orb, pressing down on you like a weight. You're still in the barley field, your hands gripping the wooden hoe, its handle now slick with your sweat. The air shimmers with heat, and the Nile, just a short walk away, seems to taunt you with its cool promise. You squint, wishing again for sunglasses, but the workers around you don't falter. Their skin, bronzed and weathered, seems to absorb the sun's fury without complaint. You, on the other hand, feel like you're melting, your modern sensibilities no match for Egypt's desert climate. You pause to wipe your brow. And the man who led you here, let's call him Ammonius, since he hasn't bothered to introduce himself, grunts something. His tone suggests you're moving too slowly. You nod, forcing your aching arms to swing the hoe again. The soil is stubborn, clumped with roots, and each strike sends a jolt through your shoulders. You're starting to understand why the Nile's flood season is sacred. Without its silt, this land would be unforgiving, and your brief stint as a farmer would be even more futile. The river's annual inundation, you recall, is what makes these fields possible, a natural miracle that's been celebrated for centuries. But miracles don't make the heat any kinder. Your throat is parched, and you glance at the water jar by the field's edge, guarded by a boy fanning himself with a palm leaf. You stumble toward it, earning a few curious looks. The water is warm, slightly earthy, but you gulp it down, grateful for anything liquid. Back home, you'd have reached for a chilled bottle. Here, you're just happy it's not mud. You splash some on your face, and for a moment, the world feels bearable. Then the sun reminds you who's in charge, its rays stinging your damp skin. A woman nearby adjusts her linen shawl, her movements graceful despite the heat. You notice her necklace, a simple string of blue faience beads, glinting like tiny pieces of the sky. It's a small luxury, a reminder that even in this harsh world, beauty matters. You wonder about her life. Does she dream of cooler days, Or is this heat just her normal? Historians still debate whether ancient Egyptians saw their climate as a burden or a divine gift, a test from the gods to prove their resilience. You're leaning toward burden, but you're biased. Your modern comforts still haunting your thoughts. You trudge back to the field, your sneakers caked with mud. The workers are spreading seeds now, their hands quick and precise. You try to mimic them, but your seeds scatter unevenly, earning a chuckle from Ammonius. City hands? He might be thinking, if he knew what a city was. You laugh too, though it's more at yourself. Humor feels like a luxury here, a brief escape from the grind. You imagine telling your friends back home about this, planting barley under a sun that feels like a grudge. They probably think you're exaggerating. You're not. The heat is more than physical, it's a presence, shaping every choice. You notice the workers' kilts, light and practical, while your clothes cling uncomfortably. Fashion isn't just vanity here, it's survival. Linen breathes, your synthetic shirt doesn't. You recall a quirky detail. Some Egyptians shave their heads to stay cool, wearing wigs only for ceremonies. You touch your hair, matted with sweat, and consider the idea. Bald might not be your look, but neither is heat stroke. For now you settle for tying a scrap of cloth around your forehead, hoping it helps. A distant shout pulls your attention. Across the field, a group is repairing a canal wall, their hands slapping wet mud into place. It's mesmerizing, this constant dance with the Nile, control its flow, and you eat, lose control, and you starve. The canal system, you realize, is an engineering marvel, predating modern tools by millennia. Yet it's maintained by sheer human effort, a testament to their stubborn ingenuity. You wonder if you'd have the patience to rebuild a wall every flood season. Probably not, you're already daydreaming about shade. Shade, as it turns out, is a rare commodity. A few workers huddle under a lone sycamore, sharing a loaf of bread. You're not invited, but you linger nearby, catching the scent of something fermented, beer, maybe, or that gritty brew from earlier. Food and drink are communal here, but only if you belong. You're still an outsider, your presence tolerated but not embraced. It's a subtle reminder of this society's structure, everyone has a role. And yours is undefined. You're not a farmer, not a priest, not even a proper guest. You're just, here, sweating and struggling to keep up. The sun is nearing its peak, and your skin feels tight, prickling with the promise of a burn. You remember that crocodile dung sunscreen from the riverbank and wince. Maybe it's not such a bad idea after all. You chuckle at the thought of explaining that to a dermatologist. But the humor fades as you notice a child nearby, barefoot, carrying a basket of grain. His small frame moves with purpose. No complaints, no breaks. You feel a pang, not pity but respect. This world demands resilience from everyone, young or old. You're not sure you measure up. As the afternoon looms, the workers begin to slow, their songs quieter now. You follow suit, your body screaming for rest. The field is nearly done, but the day isn't. Ammonius gestures toward a path leading back to the village. And you trudge along, your legs heavy. The Nile glints in the distance, its waters deceptively serene. You're starting to see it differently, not just a river, but a taskmaster, a god, a lifeline. Surviving here means bowing to its rhythm, and you're already behind. The heat hasn't broken you yet, but it's made one thing clear: ancient Egypt doesn't care about your comfort zone. The path from the barley field winds toward the village, and you drag your feet, each step kicking up puffs of dust that cling to your damp skin. The sun, still high, seems to mock your exhaustion. Its heat a constant reminder that there's no clocking out in ancient Egypt. Your arms throb from wielding the hoe, and your back protests every movement. Ammonius, your unofficial guide, walks ahead. His stride steady despite hours in the field. You envy his endurance, wondering if it's born of necessity or just time. Probably both. The Nile glints to your left, its waters a distant tease, and you imagine diving in, clothes and all. But there's no time for daydreams, you're expected to keep moving. You reach the village, a cluster of mud brick homes baked golden by the sun. The air carries the scent of warm bread and something faintly smoky, perhaps a cooking fire. Women kneel by doorways, grinding grain on stone slabs, their hands moving in a rhythm as old as the river itself. You pause, mesmerized by their focus, but Ammonius nudges you toward another field, this one thick with emmer wheat. Your heart sinks. More farming? You're barely upright, but the workers here don't seem to notice your fatigue. They're already at it, bent low, harvesting stalks with flint sickles. You're handed one. Its edge sharp enough to make you nervous. The sickle feels awkward in your hand, heavier than it looks. You watch a woman nearby, her cuts swift and precise, each stalk falling neatly into a pile. You try to copy her, but your first swing is too forceful, slicing through half the plant and earning a raised eyebrow. You mutter an apology, though no one understands. A soft chuckle escapes you. Imagine explaining this fumble on a resume. Proficient in Microsoft Office, terrible at ancient wheat harvesting. The workers don't laugh, but a young boy nearby grins, mimicking your clumsy grip. You grin back, grateful for the moment's lightness. Harvesting is grueling, a test of endurance you're failing spectacularly. Your back aches as you bend, your hands blistering against the sickle's rough handle. The wheat is tough, its stalks resisting your efforts, and you're sweating buckets. You recall that agriculture was Egypt's backbone. The surplus from these fields feeding cities and fueling pyramid projects. Around 2700 BC, the Old Kingdom's prosperity hinged on farmers like these. Their labor taxed to support pharaohs and priests. Yet here, in the dust and heat, it's just you and the wheat, locked in a battle you're losing. Historians still debate whether these workers were coerced or motivated by loyalty to the gods. You're too tired to care, you just want to sit. A breeze stirs, carrying the scent of river mud and crushed grain. It's a small mercy, cooling your skin for a moment. You glance at the workers, their faces lined with focus. Some wear simple head scarves. Others nothing, their shaved heads gleaming. You touch your own hair, plastered with sweat, and recall that head-shaving tidbit. Maybe it's not just about heat, maybe it's about lice. You shudder, hoping you don't find out the hard way. Hygiene here isn't what you're used to. Soap is centuries away, and that crocodile dung sunscreen is starting to sound like a health risk. You chuckle softly, imagining a modern spa offering authentic Nile mud facials. Good luck with that pitch. The field stretches endlessly, or so it feels. You notice a peculiar detail. Small clay figurines tucked among the wheat, offerings to ensure a good harvest. They're crude but deliberate, shaped like animals or tiny people. You're tempted to pick one up, but a worker's sharp glance stops you. Religion is everywhere here, not just in temples but in the soil itself. You wonder what it's like to live in a world where every action, planting, cutting, eating, is a prayer. Your secular habits feel out of place, like showing up to a gala in flip-flops. Your stomach growls, loud enough to draw a smirk from the boy nearby. Lunch, you hope. But no one's stopping. You spot a woman chewing a raw onion, her expression unfazed. You're hungry enough to consider it, but your modern palate recoils. Back home, you'd be scrolling for takeout. Here, you're at the mercy of whatever's available. You think of the gritty beer from earlier and wince. Survival, you're learning, means rethinking. Edible. You keep cutting. Each stalk a small victory, though the pile at your feet is pitiful compared to the others. The sun shifts, casting longer shadows, and you feel a flicker of hope. Maybe the day's winding down. But Ammonius points to a basket. You're now on collection duty. You gather the cut stalks, your hands scratched and sore, and haul them to a cart pulled by a donkey. The beast eyes you with indifference, its tail swatting flies. You relate more than you'd like. The cart's driver, an older man with a crooked smile, offers you a sip from his water jug. It's warm, slightly brackish, but you drink deeply. murmuring thanks he doesn't understand. As you work, you notice the village children playing nearby, chasing a ball made of tied reeds. Their laughter is a soft counterpoint to the field's monotony. A reminder that joy exists even in this harsh world. But you also see their bare feet, their thin limbs, and you wonder how many survive childhood here. Disease, malnutrition, accidents, the risks are endless. You push the thought away, focusing on the wheat. Your basket's finally full, and you feel a strange pride, like you've earned your place, if only for a moment. The day's not over, but the pace slows. The workers begin to sing again, their voices low and soothing, like a lullaby for the land. You don't know the words, but the melody calms you, easing the ache in your bones. You're still an outsider, still struggling, but you're part of this rhythm, however briefly. The Nile's distant shimmer catches your eye. And you realize it's not just a river, it's the pulse of this world, driving every swing of your sickle, every bead of sweat. You're surviving barely, but the day's far from done. The wheat field fades behind you as the workers drift toward the village, their baskets piled high with grain. Your legs feel like lead, each step a negotiation with your exhausted body. The sun, though lower now, still burns, and the Nile's distant glint offers no relief. You're clutching a few wheat stalks, a meager trophy from your clumsy efforts, and your stomach growls louder than ever. Ammonius, ever stoic, leads the group to a shaded courtyard where mud brick walls offer a sliver of coolness. You collapse onto a reed mat, grateful for the chance to sit and take in the scene. This, you hope, is where you finally eat. The courtyard hums with quiet activity. Women arrange clay bowls on a low table, their movements unhurried but precise. The air carries the scent of baked bread, sharp onions, and something faintly herbal. You watch, half-dazed, as a man stokes a small fire, its smoke curling upward like a prayer. Your modern hunger expects variety, maybe a sandwich, a salad, but here, food is simple, functional, a gift of the Nile's bounty. You're about to learn just how basic can be in ancient Egypt. And your empty stomach doesn't care about the history lesson. A woman, her linen dress stained with flour, hands you a flat, round loaf of bread. It's dense, slightly gritty, and warm from the oven. You tear off a piece, expecting something soft like store-bought bread, but it's chewy, flecked with bits of husk. Emmer wheat, you recall, was a staple around 2500 BCE. Ground by hand and baked daily. This loaf is the backbone of every meal, from pharaohs to farmers. You take a bite, and it's not bad, just different, like eating history itself. You chuckle softly, imagining a foodie blog reviewing this. Rustic, with notes of toil and river silt. Next comes a small clay dish with a few slices of raw onion and a pinch of dried fish. You stare, hoping for more. But the others are already eating, tearing bread and dipping it into shared bowls of green lentils. You follow suit, the onion's bite making your eyes water. The fish is salty, almost overpowering. But you're too hungry to care. You try to savor it, but your modern palate longs for spices, sauces, anything to break the monotony. Back home, you'd scroll for pizza. Here, you're grateful for what's in front of you. Survival, you're learning, means redefining. Delicious. The workers eat in near silence, their focus on the food almost reverent. You notice a child nearby, nibbling a piece of bread, her small hands careful not to drop a crumb. Food isn't wasted here. Every bite is earned, every loaf a victory over the desert's edge. You recall a quirky detail. Some Egyptians used bread as currency, trading loaves for goods or services. You glance at your half-eaten loaf and wonder what it's worth. A pair of reed sandals, maybe? Your blistered feet would thank you. A jug of beer makes its way around, the same thick, gritty brew from the field. You take a cautious sip, wincing at its warmth and tang. It's less a drink than a meal, packed with nutrients to keep workers going. You force another swallow, picturing a modern brewer's horror at this. Craft beer. The thought makes you smile. But you're careful not to spill, waste would draw frowns. The beer's alcohol is low, more about preservation than intoxication, but it still loosens the mood. A man across the table mutters something, and the group laughs softly. You don't get the joke, but you grin, caught in the moment's warmth. As you eat, you notice the courtyard's details, a faded wall painting of lotus flowers, a stray cat eyeing your fish, the faint hum of a woman's song as she kneads dough. It's a fleeting calm, a pause in the day's relentless pace. You lean back, your body aching but your hunger eased. The Nile's rhythm feels closer here, its waters feeding the grain, the fish, the people. Yet you're also aware of its limits. A bad flood, a failed harvest, and this courtyard could go silent. Historians still debate how often famine struck ancient Egypt, but you feel its shadow, even in this moment of plenty. Your meal ends too soon, the bowl's emptied and cleared. You're still hungry, but there's no second helping. The workers rise, some heading to other tasks, others lingering to chat. You stay seated, your body begging for rest, but Ammonius' glance suggests there's more to do. You groan inwardly, missing your couch, your fridge, your life of endless snacks. Here, food is fuel, not comfort, and you're burning through it faster than you'd like. You tuck a leftover onion slice into your bread, a makeshift sandwich, and stand, ready for whatever's next. Before you leave, you notice a peculiar ritual. A woman pours a few drops of beer onto the ground, her lips moving in a quiet prayer. It's an offering, you realize, to the gods who ensured the Nile's flood, the grain's growth. Religion isn't just temple statues, it's in every meal, every sip. You wonder if you'd adapt to this constant reverence, this blending of the mundane and divine. Your secular habits feel flimsy here, like a paper boat on the Nile. You chuckle, imagining explaining this to a friend. Yeah, I prayed to a river god over lunch. No big deal. The courtyard empties, and you follow Ammonius toward the village's edge, the sun still heavy on your shoulders. Your meal, simple as it was, has given you a spark of energy, but you're already dreading the next task. The bread sits heavy in your stomach, a reminder of the land's generosity and its demands. You're surviving, yes, but only just. The Nile's bounty keeps you going, but it's a fragile thread, one you're not sure you could hold on to for long. As you walk, the village hums around you, its people bound to the river, the gods, the relentless cycle of work and rest. The village hums with late afternoon life as you trail Ammonius through its narrow, dusty paths. The bread and onions sit heavy in your stomach, a small anchor against the fatigue pulling at your limbs. The sun's heat has softened, but the air remains thick, carrying the mingled scents of baked earth, sweat, and distant river mud. You're still clutching that makeshift sandwich, bread wrapped around an onion slice, and you take a bite, hoping it'll keep you going. Around you, mud brick homes cast jagged shadows, and you catch glimpses of daily life, a woman weaving reeds, a child chasing a stray dog, an old man carving wood with a flint knife. You're in ancient Egypt's heart, but you feel like a ghost, drifting through a world that doesn't quite know what to make of you. Ammonius leads you to a wider street, where the crowd thickens. Men in linen kilts, women in long dresses, and children darting between them create a quiet chaos. You notice their jewelry, beads, amulets, even a few copper bangles, marking status in subtle ways. You touch your bare wrist, feeling oddly underdressed. This isn't just a village, it's a microcosm of the old kingdom's rigid hierarchy, where everyone knows their place, from pharaoh to peasant. Around 2500 BCE, society was stratified, with nobles and priests at the top, artisans and farmers below, and you, well, you're not even on the chart. You're an anomaly. And you're about to learn how hard it is to navigate this world without a role. A man in a finer kilt, his chest adorned with a scarab pendant, brushes past you, his glance sharp and dismissive. You try to step aside, but the crowd presses in, and you nearly collide with a woman carrying a basket of figs. She snaps something, her tone sharp, and you mumble an apology she doesn't understand. Your modern manners are useless here, where status dictates every interaction. You recall that social mobility was rare, your birth determined your life, and outsiders were tolerated at best. You chuckle softly, imagining explaining this to a career counselor. Yeah, my job prospects are unskilled labor or eternal obscurity. Ammonius stops near a stone platform, where a scribe sits cross-legged, scratching on a papyrus scroll with a reed pen. His linen is crisp, his fingers unstained by field dirt, and you feel a pang of envy. Scribes were elite. Their literacy a ticket to power, serving priests or nobles. You watch him work, his focus unbroken by the crowd's noise, and wonder what he's writing: tax records, a hymn, a letter? You're tempted to peek, but his stern glance stops you. You're not his equal, and he knows it. Your place, if you have one, is with the farmers, the laborers. The invisible hands that keep Egypt alive. The crowd parts as a procession approaches, men carrying a sedan chair draped with linen. Inside sits a woman, her face painted with kohl, her wig gleaming under a beaded headdress. A noble, you guess, or a priestess. The onlookers bow slightly, and you mimic them, not wanting to stand out. Her gaze sweeps over you, lingering on your strange clothes, and you feel exposed, like a glitch in this ancient system. You wonder how she'd react to your world, with its casual egalitarianism and social media clout. Probably think it's chaos. You smile at the thought, but keep your head low. A peculiar detail catches your eye: a man trailing the procession, fanning the noble with an ostrich feather. His movements are precise, almost hypnotic, but his expression is blank, resigned. Fans were status symbols, you recall, but wielding one was grunt work, a job for the lowliest. You imagine doing it yourself, your arm aching, your pride stinging. No thanks. You'd rather stick to harvesting wheat, blisters and all. The procession moves on, and the crowd resumes its rhythm. But you're left with a question: where do you fit in a world that demands you know your place? Ammonius gestures for you to follow, and you weave through the street, dodging donkey carts and children playing with clay tops. You pass a small shrine, its altar strewn with wilted flowers and a burnt offering's ash. A woman kneels, murmuring, and you pause, struck by the intimacy of her prayer. Religion binds this society, from pharaoh to farmer, but it also enforces the hierarchy. Gods favor the powerful, or so the priests say. Historians still debate whether commoners believed this or quietly resented it. You're not sure, but you feel the weight of those unseen gods, watching, judging, expecting. Your stomach growls again, and you nibble your onion bread, its flavor now more desperate than rustic. You're hungry, tired, and increasingly aware of your outsider status. A boy bumps into you, giggling, and you laugh, grateful for the break in tension. "Watch it, kid," you mutter, knowing he doesn't understand. His grin is universal, though, a reminder that humanity persists, even across millennia. But the moment fades as Ammonius leads you toward a workshop, its air thick with the scent of sawdust and sweat. Another task, another test of your survival. Before you enter, you notice a group of women bartering nearby, their voices rising and falling like a song. They trade bread, fish, even a small pot, each item weighed on a makeshift scale. No coins here. Value is in goods, trust, and sharp negotiation. You wonder how you'd fare, your wallet useless, your skills questionable. You chuckle, picturing yourself offering expertise in streaming services for a loaf. The women don't notice you, their focus absolute, and you feel a pang of isolation. Belonging here means contributing, and you're still figuring out how. Ammonius ushers you into the workshop, where men chisel stone and carve wood. The noise is jarring after the street's hum, and you realize the day is far from over. Your brief glimpse of Egypt's hierarchy has left you uneasy. You're not a scribe, not a noble, not even a proper farmer. You're just you, sweating, stumbling, trying to keep up. The Nile's rhythm drives this world, but so does status, and you're outside its order. As you pick up a tool, your hands already sore. You wonder how long you can last in a society that demands you know exactly who you are. The workshop's clamor fades as Ammonius leads you out of the village. The Nile's familiar shimmer guiding your path. Your hands still sting from the brief encounter with the chisel, and your onion bread is long gone, leaving only a faint aftertaste of regret. The sun dips lower, painting the sky in hues of apricot and lavender, but the air remains heavy, pressing against your tired frame. You're not headed back to the fields, thank the gods, or rather, thank Ammonius' silent agenda. Instead, the path stretches toward a distant plateau, where angular silhouettes rise against the horizon. Your heart skips. Those are pyramids half-built, their limestone blocks gleaming faintly. You're about to see ancient Egypt's greatest feat up close, and it's both thrilling and exhausting. The walk is long, your feet dragging through dust and occasional patches of scrub. The Nile's scent lingers, but the landscape grows harsher, the desert's edge creeping in. You pass workers hauling sledges, their muscles straining under the weight of massive stones. Their chants, rhythmic and low, blend with the creak of ropes and the grind of wood on sand. You recall that the Great Pyramid at Giza, built around 2630 BC during King Khufu's reign, required millions of limestone blocks, each dragged by teams like these. The scale is staggering, and you're not even lifting anything, yet. You chuckle softly, imagining a modern gym advertising. Pyramid Builder Bootcamp. Sign-ups would be 0. Ammonius points to a ramp sloping upward, its surface packed with mud and straw for traction. You join a group of workers, their kilts dusty, their faces etched with focus. Your job, it seems, is to help haul a sledge, a wooden platform loaded with a block the size of a small car. You grip a rope, its fibers biting into your blistered palms, and pull. Your whole body protests, back, arms, legs, all screaming in unison. The sledge inches forward, and you're already gasping. The workers don't flinch, their movements synchronized, their strength honed by years of this. You're the weak link, and you feel it. The ramp's incline is brutal, each step a test of will. You notice a peculiar detail: men pouring water under the sledge, reducing friction on the muddy surface. It's ingenious, a trick that predates physics textbooks by millennia. You're impressed, but too breathless to dwell on it. Your rope slips slightly, earning a sharp glance from a worker. You mutter an apology, though it's lost in the chant's cadence. You wonder how they endure this, day after day for decades. Historians still debate whether pyramid workers were slaves or skilled laborers paid in bread and beer. Either way, you're not feeling particularly skilled right now. A breeze stirs, carrying the scent of dust and sweat, and you catch a glimpse of the pyramid's peak, still jagged, unfinished. It's awe-inspiring, a monument to human ambition and divine kingship. You recall the pharaoh's role as a god-king, his tomb a bridge to eternity. Every block you're hauling is a prayer, a plea for immortality. You tried to channel that grandeur, but your aching muscles aren't buying it. You laugh under your breath, picturing yourself explaining this to a friend. Yeah, I built a pyramid. Well, I pulled a rope for 10 minutes. Heroic, right? Halfway up the ramp, the team pauses, passing around a jug of water. You drink greedily, the liquid warm but life-saving. A worker offers you a piece of dried date, its sweetness a jolt of energy. You nod thanks, and he grins, his teeth stained but his eyes kind. It's a small connection, a reminder that camaraderie exists even in this grueling world. You glance at the Nile below. Its waters catching the fading light. It's the artery that makes this possible, feeding workers, floating stones from distant quarries. Without it, these pyramids would be a dream, not a reality. The sledge moves again, and you pull, your body screaming but your mind oddly calm. The chant's rhythm, the ropes burn, the stone's slow progress, it's hypnotic. Like a meditation you didn't sign up for. You notice a worker's amulet, a tiny ankh dangling from his neck, symbolizing life. Religion is everywhere, even here, tying each pull to the gods. You wonder if you'd find comfort in that faith or feel trapped by its weight. Your secular habits feel flimsy, like a paper kite in a sandstorm. You chuckle, imagining a modern motivational poster. Build pyramids, trust RA. It'd sell terribly. A shout breaks your reverie. The sledge has reached a platform, the block ready for placement. You step back, panting, as masons swarm in, their tools clinking. You're not needed here, and you're grateful. Your arms feel like jelly, your hands raw. You glance at the pyramid, its scale humbling. Thousands of lives, years of labor. All for one man's afterlife. You're struck by the paradox. Such beauty, such cost. The workers around you don't seem to question it. This is their world, their purpose. You, though, feel like an intruder, odd but out of place. Ammonius gestures for you to follow, and you descend the ramp, your legs wobbly. The plateau buzzes with activity, stonecutters, overseers. Even a scribe tallying blocks. You spot a quirky sight, a dog napping in a sledge's shade, unbothered by the chaos. You smile, wishing you could borrow its calm. The workers, though, keep moving, their energy relentless. You're starting to see the pyramid not just as a monument but as a machine, driven by human will and Nile water. Surviving here means being part of that machine. And you're barely a cog. As you reach the base, the sun is sinking, the desert cooling slightly. You're exhausted, your body a map of aches, but there's a strange pride in having contributed. However briefly. The Nile glints below, its role in this madness undeniable. You're surviving, yes, but the pyramid's weight, literal and symbolic, is a reminder of how fragile your place is. Ammonius points back toward the village, and you trudge on, the day's end still out of reach. You're learning, slowly, that ancient Egypt doesn't just test your strength, it tests your ability to belong to something bigger than yourself. The pyramid's shadow stretches long across the plateau as you follow Ammonius back toward the Nile, your body a chorus of aches from the sledge-pulling ordeal. The air cools slightly, carrying the river's familiar scent, damp earth, fish, a hint of reeds. Your hands, raw from the rope, throb with each step, and your mind drifts to modern miracles like ibuprofen. The Nile glints under the fading sun, its waters deceptively serene, a lifeline that's carried you through fields and now pyramids. But as you near its banks, you're about to learn that this river, Egypt's beating heart, hides dangers as subtle as its beauty, and surviving its embrace is no small feat. You reach a cluster of workers by the shore, their kilts soaked as they wade knee-deep, repairing a fishing net. Ammonius gestures for you to join them, and you hesitate, your sneakers already caked with mud. The water looks inviting, a cool reprieve from the day's heat. But something in the workers' careful movements gives you pause. You step in, the Nile's current tugging gently at your ankles, and feel an instant relief. The river's chill soothes your blistered feet, and you let out a sigh, tempted to splash your face. But a worker's sharp glance stops you, his hand pointing to the net. Work first, comfort later. You grip the net, its fibers slimy with river muck, and help weave a torn section, your fingers clumsy compared to the other's deft hands. The Nile's importance is undeniable, around 2500 BCE. It sustained millions, from farmers to pharaohs, its fish a dietary staple alongside bread. But as you work, you notice the water's murk, flecked with silt and something less pleasant. You recall a grim detail. The Nile was a breeding ground for parasites, like schistosomiasis, a disease caused by tiny worms burrowing through skin. You glance at your submerged legs, suddenly less thrilled about this dip. Modern water filters feel like a fever dream. A fish darts past, its scales catching the light, and you smile, distracted by the river's life. But the worker beside you mutters something, pointing to a ripple farther out. You squint, half expecting a crocodile, and your heart skips. False alarm, just a larger fish, maybe a perch. Still, the moment lingers, a reminder that the Nile isn't your friend. Crocodiles, hippos, even venomous water snakes were real threats, and you're not exactly equipped with a survival guide. You chuckle nervously, imagining explaining this to a doctor. Yeah, I got bitten by a Nile snake. Send help. Good luck with that. The net repair drags on, your hands growing numb in the cool water. You notice a peculiar sight, a small clay jar bobbing nearby, tied to a reed. A worker explains through gestures that it's a fish trap, left to collect dinner overnight. It's clever. Another example of Egypt's resourcefulness, but you can't shake the thought of what else might be lurking in these waters. You recall that ancient Egyptians bathed, drank, and washed here. All in the same river that carried waste and disease. Your modern germophobia kicks in, and you resist the urge to bolt for dry land. A breeze ripples the surface, carrying the scent of wet clay and distant smoke. The workers begin to sing, their voices low and soothing, a counterpoint to the river's quiet rush. You try to focus on the net, but your mind wanders to the Nile's dual nature, giver of life, harbinger of harm. Historians still debate how much Egyptians understood about waterborne diseases, whether they linked their ailments to the river they worshipped. You're no scholar, but standing here, shin deep in murk, you're betting they didn't have a clue. Ignorance, in this case, might have been bliss. A splash nearby makes you jump, and the workers laugh, their amusement gentle but clear. A boy has tossed a pebble, his grin wide. You laugh too, shaking your head, and toss one back, earning a cheer. It's a fleeting connection, a reminder that joy persists, even in a world of hidden dangers. But the moment fades as you notice a worker scratching his leg, the skin red and inflamed. Parasites, maybe, or just the river's toll. You check your own skin, half expecting welts, and feel a prickle of dread. Surviving here means respecting the Nile, but also fearing it. The net is nearly done, and you step onto the bank, your legs dripping, your sneakers squelching. The workers coil the net, their task complete. And you feel a small pride in contributing, however poorly. But your relief is tempered by a new awareness. The Nile's gifts come with strings attached. You glance at your hands still damp, and wonder what invisible threats they carry. Back home, you reach for hand sanitizer. Here, you're at the mercy of a river that's both god and menace. You chuckle, picturing a modern ad for the Nile. Come for the fish, stay for the parasites. Ammonia signals it's time to move, and you follow, the village's lights flickering in the distance. The Nile's current murmurs behind you, a constant in this ever-shifting day. You're starting to see it differently, not just a resource, but a force that demands caution. Your body's tired. Your skin itches faintly, and you're acutely aware of how fragile your survival is. The workers around you move with quiet confidence, their lives entwined with the river's whims. You, though, are still learning its rules, and each step feels like a gamble. As the day darkens, you trudge on, the Nile's secrets flowing just out of reach. Twilight wraps the village in a soft indigo veil as you follow Ammonius away from the Nile's murky embrace, your legs still damp from the river and your mind buzzing with its hidden threats. The air is cooler now, scented with dust and the faint tang of burning oil from lamps flickering in doorways. Your body aches, hands blistered, back sore, stomach grumbling despite the earlier bread, but there's no rest yet. Ammonius leads you toward a stone structure, its walls carved with falcon and lotus motifs, glowing faintly under the rising moon. This is no ordinary building, it's a temple, and you're about to step into the heart of ancient Egypt's spiritual world, where survival means navigating rituals as complex as the Nile's currents. You pause at the entrance, the air heavy with incense, myrrh, you guess, its smoky sweetness curling in your nostrils. Inside, priests in white linen move with deliberate grace, their shaved heads gleaming. You feel out of place, your muddy clothes and river-soaked sneakers a stark contrast to their pristine attire. Ammonius nudges you forward, and you step onto the cool stone floor, your footsteps echoing. The temple is alive with quiet purpose, flickering lamps, murmured chants, and the glint of gold on an altar. You're here to participate in a ceremony, though no one's explained the rules. Spoiler, there are a lot of them. A priest hands you a clay bowl filled with dried petals, gesturing toward a statue of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, his green-painted face serene yet imposing. Your task, it seems, is to scatter the petals as an offering. But the priest's stern gaze suggests precision matters. You recall that religion dominated Egyptian life around 2500 BCE, with daily rituals ensuring cosmic order, or ma'at. Temples weren't just places of worship, they were economic hubs, storing grain and employing thousands. But right now, you're less concerned with history and more with not botching this sacred moment. You scatter the petals, trying to mimic the priest's fluid motion, but a few flutter off course, earning a faint frown. You wince, imagining a Yelp review for your performance. Enthusiastic. But needs work on petal placement. The chant grows louder, a hypnotic drone that vibrates in your chest. You're handed a reed fan, and you wave it gently over the altar. The motion soothing despite your aching arms. The priest's voices weave tales of creation and rebirth, though you catch only the rhythm, not the words. You wonder how they memorize it all, dozens of gods, endless prayers, each gesture loaded with meaning. Your modern brain, used to quick searches and short attention spans, struggles to keep up. You chuckle softly, picturing a priest discovering your phone. What is this magic box that knows nothing of RA? A peculiar detail catches your eye, a small pile of bread loaves on the altar. Shaped like tiny pyramids. They're not for eating, you learn, but for the gods, a symbolic feast to ensure divine favor. It's a reminder of how deeply food and faith intertwine here. Bread sustains both body and soul. You think back to your gritty loaf earlier, its husk-flecked texture, and realize it was more than a meal. It was a piece of this sacred cycle. Your stomach growls, unimpressed by symbolism, and you hope there's actual food later. Starving for Osiris's sake feels like a stretch. The ceremony shifts, and you're guided to kneel before the statue, your knees protesting against the stone. A priest pours water over the altar. Its trickle echoing in the silence, and you're struck by the ritual's intimacy. This isn't just performance, it's a conversation with the divine, a plea for balance in a precarious world. You recall the Nile's parasites, the pyramid's weight, and wonder if these prayers ever feel like enough. Historians still debate whether commoners fully embraced these rituals or performed them out of duty. Kneeling here, you get it. Duty is a powerful motivator when gods control the harvest. A priest offers you a sip of wine from a clay cup, its taste sharp and unfamiliar. It's not for refreshment but part of the rite, a taste of the divine. You sip carefully, not wanting to offend, and pass it back, your fingers brushing the priest's calloused hand. The moment feels oddly human, a crack in the temple's formality. You smile, and he nods, his eyes softening. It's a fleeting bridge across time, a reminder that even in this rigid world, connection persists. But the chant resumes, and you're swept back into the ritual's flow, your role small but inescapable. The air grows heavier, the incense thicker, and you feel a strange calm, like the temple's rhythm is seeping into you. But there's also pressure, to move correctly, to respect the unseen rules. You wave the fan again, its breeze stirring the petals, and wonder how you'd fare as a regular here. Would you memorize the hymns, or slip up and offend a priest? You laugh under your breath, imagining a modern HR complaint. Failed to honor Anubis, needs retraining. The thought lightens your mood, but the priest's focus pulls you back. This is their world, and you're just borrowing it. As the ceremony nears its end, the priests circle the altar, their chants fading into a soft hum. You're dismissed with a gesture, and you step outside. The night air a shock after the temple's warmth. The moon hangs low, casting silver over the village, and you feel the Nile's distant pulse, tying this moment to the day's earlier struggles. You're surviving, yes, but the temple has shown you another layer of this world. Survival isn't just physical, it's spiritual, a dance with gods who demand your reverence. Ammonius waits, ready to lead you on, and you trudge after him, the day's weight heavier than ever. The night air brushes your skin as you leave the temple's incense-heavy embrace. The moon casting a pale glow over the village. Your body is a map of complaints, blistered hands, aching back, and now a sharp sting on your foot, a souvenir from the Nile's muddy banks. You limp after Ammonius, the cool dust soothing your soles but not enough to dull the pain. The village is quieter now, its lamps flickering like distant stars. And the Nile's murmur feels both comforting and ominous. You're hoping for rest, but Ammonius leads you to a low mud brick house, its doorway draped with reeds. Inside, you're about to face ancient Egypt's approach to medicine, and it's as unsettling as the river's hidden parasites. You step in, the air thick with the scent of herbs and something faintly metallic. A woman, her linen dress stained with ochre, kneels by a low table, grinding a paste with a stone pestle. She's the healer, you guess, her eyes sharp despite the dim light of an oil lamp. You point to your foot, where a small cut from a reed has turned red and angry. She gestures for you to sit on a reed mat, and you comply, wincing as she inspects the wound. Around 2500 BCE. Egyptian medicine was advanced for its time, blending practical remedies with magic. But advanced doesn't mean comfortable, and you're about to learn that the hard way. The healer mutters something, her tone matter-of-fact, and dips her fingers into the paste, a mix of honey, herbs, and what smells suspiciously like garlic. You recall that honey was a staple in Egyptian medicine, valued for its antibacterial properties long before science named them. She smears it on your cut, and you hiss, the sting sharp but fleeting. The paste feels cool, sticky, and you're grudgingly impressed. But then she reaches for a small amulet, a carved eye of Horus, and ties it to your ankle with a linen strip. It's a charm against evil spirits, she seems to say, and you nod, not wanting to argue with someone who might decide your foot needs more than honey. You chuckle softly, imagining explaining this to a modern doctor. Yeah, my treatment plan includes garlic and a magic eye. Thoughts? The healer doesn't notice your amusement, her focus absolute, as she wraps your foot. You notice a peculiar detail, a clay jar on her table, filled with what looks like moldy bread. Later, you learn it's an early antibiotic, the mold scraped off and applied to wounds. It's a glimpse of Egypt's ingenuity, but right now, it just looks gross. You're grateful she's sticking to honey for you, though the garlic smell is clinging to your skin like a bad decision. The room is cluttered with tools, flint knives, bone needles, and bundles of dried plants. You spot a papyrus scroll, likely a medical text, though you can't read the hieratic script. Egyptian healers were meticulous, documenting treatments for everything from cuts to cataracts. But their cures often leaned on the divine, with spells as crucial as salves. You wonder how you'd fare in a world where a fever might be blamed on a demon rather than a virus. Your modern skepticism feels flimsy here, where faith and science blur into one. Historians still debate how much of Egyptian medicine was effective versus placebo, but you're just hoping this paste doesn't make things worse. A sharp pain pulls you back as the healer tightens the bandage. She hands you a clay cup filled with a bitter liquid, willow bark tea, maybe, a natural painkiller. You sip it, grimacing, and think of aspirin with a longing that borders on poetic. The tea's warmth soothes your throat, though, and you murmur thanks, earning a nod. Her hands, rough from years of work, move with a quiet confidence that makes you trust her, even if you're wary of her methods. You glance at the Horus amulet, its weight out against your ankle, and wonder if you're starting to buy into the magic, just a little. The healer's apprentice, a boy no older than 12, sweeps the floor, his movements quick but careful. You notice his own bandage, wrapped around a finger, and wonder what mishap brought him here. Medicine wasn't just for the elite. Everyone relied on healers like this woman, from farmers to pyramid workers. But it was risky, infections were common, and a simple cut could turn deadly. You touch your bandage, hoping the honey works its ancient magic. Back home, you'd pop an antibiotic. Here, you're at the mercy of herbs and hope. You laugh under your breath, picturing a pharmacy ad. Try our new demon-repelling ointment. The healer gestures for you to stand, testing your weight on the bandaged foot. It's sore but bearable, and you hobble a few steps, earning her approval. She points to the door, her work done, and you step outside. The night air a shock after the room's warmth. Ammonius waits, his expression unreadable, and you realize the day is not over. Your foot throbs, a reminder of how fragile you are in this world. The Nile's dangers, the pyramid's strain, and now this small cut, all conspiring to test you. You're surviving, but each moment feels like a roll of the dice. As you follow Ammonius, the village's lamps cast soft pools of light, and you hear a distant chant, perhaps from the temple you left earlier. The Horus amulet bumps against your ankle, a quirky keepsake of this strange encounter. You're starting to see Egypt's rhythm differently, not just labor and river, but a delicate balance of body and spirit, where a cut is both a wound and a cosmic battle. You trudge on, the moon watching, and wonder what other surprises this relentless day holds. For now, you're grateful for the healer's hands and the faint hope that your foot won't betray you before dawn. The village pulses with the soft glow of oil lamps as you limp after Ammonius. Your bandaged foot tender but holding up, thanks to the healer's pungent paste and that quirky Horus amulet. The night air is cooler, laced with the Nile's damp breath and the faint char of cooking fires. Your stomach grumbles, the memory of bread and onions a distant tease, and your body begs for rest. But Ammonius, tireless as ever, leads you toward a bustling square where torches flicker and voices hum like a low, living current. This is the marketplace, alive even at dusk. And you're about to dive into ancient Egypt's chaotic world of barter, where survival means mastering a system as tangled as the river's reeds. You step into the square, and the noise hits you, shouts, laughter, the clatter of clay pots. Stalls line the edges, piled with fish, grain, linen, and trinkets that glint under torchlight. The air smells of roasted barley, sweat, and something sharp, maybe natron salt. People weave through the crowd, their arms laden with goods, their voices rising in rapid negotiation. You recall that around 2500 BCE, Egypt's economy relied on barter, not coins, with goods like bread or beer as currency. You pat your empty pockets, realizing you've got nothing to trade except maybe your soggy sneakers. Good luck selling those. A woman thrusts a basket of figs at you, her eyes expectant. You shake your head, trying to explain you're just passing through, but she doesn't understand. Ammonius nudges you toward a stall stacked with clay jars, where a man is trading onions for a small linen cloth. You're supposed to help, it seems, though no one's clarified your role. You pick up a jar, heavier than expected, and nearly drop it, earning a chuckle from a nearby child. You laugh too, muttering, "Note to self, don't quit my day job." Except you don't have one here. And the thought stings more than you'd like. You try to follow the barter's rhythm, watching the man weigh onions on a makeshift scale, his fingers quick and precise. He gestures for you to hand over another jar, and you comply, your bandaged foot throbbing as you shift your weight. The buyer, a woman with a beaded necklace, inspects the jar, then offers a bundle of dried fish. The man shakes his head, pointing to her bracelet. You're lost, the exchange a dance you don't know the steps to. You recall that markets were social hubs, where status and trust shaped every deal. You, with no status and no goods, are a bystander at best. A peculiar sight catches your eye, a boy trading a live goose, its wings flapping wildly as he haggles with a potter. The bird's honks cut through the crowd's hum, and you can't help but grin. It's chaos, but there's a strange order to it. A system built on mutual need. You wonder how you'd fare, offering nothing but modern trivia. Want to trade for some fun facts about Wi-Fi? You imagine saying, and chuckle. The potter glances at you, probably wondering why you're laughing at his goose. You wave awkwardly, feeling more out of place than ever. The stall's owner hands you a reed basket, pointing to a pile of garlic bulbs. Your job, it seems, is to sort them, separating the good from the bruised. You sit, grateful for a moment off your feet, and start working. The garlic's sharp scent stinging your eyes. The task is simple but grounding, a brief pause in the day's relentless pace. You notice the crowd's diversity, farmers, artisans, even a scribe with a papyrus tucked under his arm. Everyone's here, bound by the need to trade, to survive. Historians still debate how much marketplaces fostered equality or reinforced class divides. You're betting on the latter, given the scribe's crisp linen and your own muddy rags. A woman nearby offers you a sip from her water jug, her smile kind despite your obvious confusion. You drink. The water warm but welcome, and nod thanks. Her gesture feels like a small victory, a crack in the wall between you and this world. But the market's energy pulls you back. Its noise a reminder that you're still an outsider, scrambling to keep up. You finish sorting the garlic, your hands reeking, and the owner grunts approval, tossing you a small onion. It's not payment, just a gesture, but you clutch it like a prize, your hunger sharpening. The square begins to thin as torches burn low, but the haggling doesn't stop. You spot a man trading a carved amulet for a basket of dates, his voice rising in mock outrage. It's theater, you realize, a performance as much as a transaction. You wish you could join in. But your lack of goods and language leaves you silent. You chuckle, picturing a modern flea market with this intensity. I'll trade my old couch for your blender, but only if you throw in a lamp. The thought fades as Ammonius signals it's time to move, his patience thin. You stand, your foot protesting, and tuck the onion into your belt, a humble trophy. The market's chaos lingers in your mind. A vivid snapshot of Egypt's pulse, vibrant, relentless, unforgiving. You're surviving, but only just, each moment a lesson in how little you bring to this world. The Nile's distant shimmer catches your eye, tying the market's bustle to the river's flow. As you follow Ammonius into the darkening village, the day's weight settles heavier. And you wonder how much longer you can navigate this maze of trade, toil, and unspoken rules before it breaks you. The marketplace's clamor fades as you trail Ammonius through the village's narrowing paths, the onion tucked in your belt a small, pungent reminder of your brief barter adventure. The moon hangs high now, its silver light softening the mud brick walls and casting long shadows that dance with each gust. The air is cooler, laced with the Nile's damp breath and the faint smoke of dying fires. Your body is a chorus of complaints, blistered hands, throbbing foot, and a bone-deep fatigue that makes each step feel like wading through sand. You're hoping for rest, but Ammonius' steady pace suggests otherwise. As the village quiets, a new challenge emerges. Surviving the night, where darkness brings not just calm but a host of unseen fears that test your fraying resolve. You reach a cluster of homes, their flat roofs stark against the starry sky. Ammonius gestures to a reed mat outside one, indicating this is your spot for the night. You collapse onto it, grateful for the chance to lie down. Though the mat's rough weave prickles through your clothes. The village is hushed, save for the occasional bark of a dog or the soft wail of a child. You close your eyes, willing sleep to come. But the night is alive with sounds, crickets, rustling reeds, and something distant, like a low, eerie moan. Your modern nerves, used to city hum or white noise apps, jolt at every creak. You chuckle softly, imagining downloading now night sounds for insomnia. It'd be a hard pass. The moan comes again, and you sit up, heart thudding. It's just the wind, you tell yourself, whistling through the palms, but your mind conjures worse, jackals, spirits, or some angry god you accidentally offended in the temple. You recall that ancient Egyptians were deeply superstitious. Their nights filled with tales of restless dead and malevolent forces. Around 2500 BC, protective spells and amulets were as common as bread, warding off dangers seen and unseen. You touch the Horus amulet on your ankle, its weight oddly reassuring, and wonder if you're starting to buy into this world's fears. Back home, you'd scoff at ghosts. Here, the dark feels like it's watching. A peculiar detail catches your attention, a small clay figure by the doorway, shaped like a snarling lion. It's a guardian, you realize, meant to scare off evil spirits. You've seen similar charms in fields and temples, but this one feels personal, a sentinel for the sleeping. You wonder about the family inside. Their dreams haunted by the same fears as yours. Did they carve this themselves, whispering prayers as they shaped it? The thought grounds you, a reminder that fear is universal, even across millennia. But it doesn't stop the next gust from sending a shiver down your spine. You lie back, staring at the stars, their clarity staggering without city lights to dull them. The Milky Way stretches like a river, mirroring the Nile below, and you recall how Egyptians saw the sky as a goddess, not swallowing the sun each night. It's beautiful. But the vastness makes you feel small, exposed. A rustle nearby makes you flinch. A cat, its eyes glinting as it darts past. You laugh under your breath, your nerves frayed. "Nice one, kitty," you mutter, wishing for a flashlight or, better yet, a locked door. Open-air sleeping is not your vibe. The night grows colder, and you pull your arms close, missing a blanket. You think of the workers you've met, farmers, pyramid haulers, market hagglers, all likely curled up on similar mats, their bodies hardened to this life. How do they sleep through the moans, the rustles, the weight of a world where gods and demons feel so close? Historians still debate whether these superstitions unified society or bred fear, but lying here, you get it. The dark amplifies every doubt, every ache, making the unknown feel alive. You're not sure if you'd adapt or spend every night jumping at shadows. A soft chant drifts from a nearby house. A woman's voice murmuring what sounds like a protective spell. It's soothing, like a lullaby for the anxious, and you let it wash over you, your eyelids growing heavy. But a sharp yip, a jackal, maybe, snaps you awake, your pulse racing again. You sit up, scanning the darkness, and notice a faint glow on the horizon, perhaps a distant fire. The village feels both alive and on edge. A fragile bubble against the night's vastness. You chuckle, imagining a modern sleep aid ad. "Can't rest? Try our Anubis-approved dream charm. It'd sell out here." You shift on the mat, your bandaged foot protesting, and try to focus on the stars, counting them like sheep. The Nile's murmur is a constant, tying this moment to the day's endless tasks, fields, pyramids, markets. You're starting to see its rhythm as more than physical. It's emotional, spiritual, a current that carries both hope and dread. Sleep feels like a luxury you haven't earned, and the night's sounds keep you tethered to this world's pulse. You wonder how long you can keep going, how many more tests this day holds. For now you lie back, the mats weave digging into your skin, and pray the dawn comes quietly. The night's restless hum clings to you as dawn's first light creeps over the village, painting the mud brick walls in soft pinks and golds. You're still on the reed mat, your body stiff from the hard ground and the night's endless noises, jackals, wind. That eerie moan you're now blaming on your imagination. The Horus amulet on your ankle feels heavier, as if it absorbed some of the dark's weight. Your eyes burn from patchy sleep, and your bandaged foot throbs, but Ammonia's shadow looms, signaling it's time to move. The Nile's murmur calls from the distance, and you're headed to a workshop, where the craft of ancient Egypt demands your hands, not just your endurance. Surviving here, you're learning, means mastering skills that make your modern resume look like a joke. You trudge after Ammonius, the village stirring with early risers, women carrying water jars, men sharpening tools. The air is cool but carries the promise of heat, scented with dust and the faint tang of river mud. You pass the clay lion figure by the doorway, its snarl less menacing in daylight, and give it a nod, half serious. The workshop is aglow. The air hums with the clink of chisels and the soft rasp of looms, a rhythm as steady as the Nile's flow. Amon gestures to a corner where a man is carving a limestone block, his hands steady despite the tool's weight. You're handed a smaller chisel and a piece of soft stone, your task to mimic his work. You recall that craftsmanship was vital in the Old Kingdom, around 2500 BC, producing everything from pyramid blocks to intricate amulets. Artisans were respected, their skills a bridge between the mundane and the divine. But as you grip the chisel, its flint edge sharp against your blistered palms, you feel less like an artisan and more like a kid failing art class. You chuckle, imagining a modern craft store selling DIY hieroglyph kits. They'd be out of business fast. You strike the stone, aiming for a simple line, but the chisel slips, leaving a jagged scratch. The artisan glances over, his expression a mix of pity and amusement. You try again, your arms trembling from yesterday's pyramid haul, and manage a wobbly curve. It's pathetic, but you're trying, sweat beading on your brow. The artisan corrects your grip, his callous fingers guiding yours, and you nod thanks, feeling a flicker of connection. His work, you notice, is flawless, a falcon's head emerging from the stone, each feather precise. You wonder how many years it took to get that good, and whether you'd last a week. A peculiar detail catches your eye, a small pile of stone dust by the artisan's feet, carefully swept into a clay jar. Later, you learn it's used in paints or even medicine, nothing wasted in this resourceful world. It's a reminder of Egypt's ingenuity, turning scraps into tools. You think back to the moldy bread in the healer's hut, the water under the pyramid sledge, every detail purposeful, unlike your world of disposable everything. Your stone looks more like modern art than a hieroglyph, and you laugh under your breath, picturing it in a gallery. Untitled by Clueless Time Traveler. The workshop's noise is hypnotic. A blend of chisels, looms, and low voices. You notice a woman nearby, weaving linen with a speed that makes your head spin. Her fingers dance, the threads taut. And you realize her cloth might end up in a temple or a noble's tomb. Your own hands, slow and clumsy, feel like they belong to someone else. You recall the physical toll of these crafts, repetitive strain, dust-choked lungs, eyes strained by dim light. Your brief stint is already exhausting. A lifetime of this would break you. Historians still debate whether artisans felt pride or resentment in their labor, but you're leaning toward both, your body screaming with each strike. A boy brings a jug of water, and you drink deeply, the liquid earthy but reviving. The artisan offers you a date, its sweetness a jolt against the dust in your throat. You smile, and he grunts, a universal keep going. It's a small kindness, a thread of humanity in this grueling day. But the work doesn't stop, and you chisel again, your stone looking less disastrous with each careful strike. You're no master, but there's a strange satisfaction in the effort, like you're carving a tiny piece of this world into existence. The sun climbs, filtering through the palm-frond roof, and the workshop grows warmer. The air thick with stone dust. Your arms ache, your foot protests, and you wonder how these artisans do it, day after day, their lives a cycle of creation and straying. The Nile's rhythm, you realize, isn't just in the fields or the river, it's here, in the steady beat of chisel on stone, thread on loom. You're part of it, however briefly, but the toll is clear. Survival here means giving your body to the craft, no complaints, no shortcuts. As the morning wears on, the artisan signals a break, and you set down the chisel, your hands trembling. You step outside, the village bustling now, and catch the Nile's glint in the distance. Your stone, barely started, sits among the workshop's masterpieces, a humbling reminder of your place. You chuckle, imagining showing it to a friend. Behold my contribution to eternity! They'd laugh, and you'd deserve it. Ammonius waits, ready to lead you elsewhere, and you trudge after him. The days weight heavier with each step. You're surviving, but the craft's demands have shown you just how much this world asks of those who shape it. The workshop's dust still clings to your hands as you follow Ammonius through the village, the morning sun climbing higher, its warmth a gentle reprieve after the night's restless chill. Your body is a tapestry of aches, blistered palms, sore foot, and now a faint tremor in your arms from chiseling stone. The Nile's shimmer in the distance feels like a quiet promise. But the village buzzes with a new energy, a hum of anticipation. You catch snatches of laughter, the beat of drums, and the scent of roasted fish wafting through the air. Ammonius leads you toward an open square, where a festival unfolds, a rare burst of joy in ancient Egypt's relentless grind. But even this celebration, you'll find, tests your ability to keep up. Its excess as dizzying as the day's endless tasks. The square is alive with color. Linen shawls dyed red and blue, garlands of lotus flowers draped over stalls, and children darting through the crowd with reed toys. Torches and oil lamps flicker, though the sun is bright, casting a golden glow over the scene. You recall that festivals, often tied to the Nile's flood or harvests around 2500 BC, were moments of communal release, honoring gods like Hathor, the deity of music and joy. The crowd sways to a flute's melody, and you're swept along, your exhaustion momentarily forgotten. You clutch your lone onion, the market's meager gift, and wonder if it's enough to join the feast. Spoiler, it's not. A woman hands you a clay cup of beer, its surface frothy and warm. You sip, expecting the gritty brew from before, but this is sweeter, brewed for celebration. It's strong, too, and your head buzzes after a few swallows. You grin, feeling looser, and pass the cup to a man beside you, who laughs and claps your shoulder. The festival's energy is infectious, a stark contrast to the field's toil or the temple's solemnity. You spot dancers, their movements fluid, their anklets jingling, and you're tempted to join, though your bandaged foot begs to differ. You chuckle, imagining a modern dance floor with this vibe. Step 1, honor Hathor. Step 2, don't trip. Food stalls line the square, piled with bread, roasted fish, and bowls of stewed lentils. You approach one, holding out your onion, but the vendor waves it away, offering a small loaf instead. It's a gesture of festival generosity, and you tear into it. The bread's soft and studded with dates. Your hunger, a constant companion, eases, and you savor the sweetness, a rare treat in this world of onions and grit. You notice a peculiar detail. A man tossing crumbs to a flock of ibises, sacred birds believed to carry prayers to the gods. It's a small act, but it ties the feast to the divine, a reminder that even joy here is an offering. The drums pick up, and the crowd presses closer, some singing, others clapping. You're pulled into a circle, your hands linked with strangers, and you stumble through the steps, laughing at your own clumsiness. The beer's warmth spreads, and for a moment you feel part of this world, not just a struggling outsider. But the pace is relentless. The dance faster than your tired body can handle. You step back, panting, and lean against the wall, the festival's whirl overwhelming. Historians still debate whether festivals were true breaks or just another way to reinforce social order, with elites often leading the rites. You're too dizzy to care, you just want to catch your breath. A child offers you a lotus flower, its petals cool against your palm, and you tuck it behind your ear, earning a giggle. The gesture lifts your spirits, but the festival's excess is starting to wear on you. The beer, the food, the noise, it's a fleeting escape, but your body reminds you of the day's toll. The pyramids strain, the river's parasites, the chisels burn. You spot a man slumped nearby, his face flushed from too much drink, and wonder if he's feeling the same crash. You chuckle, picturing a modern hangover cure in ancient Egypt. Try our sacred ibis aspirin, now with extra Nile water. The dancers pause, and a priest steps forward, his linen pristine, his voice carrying over the crowd. He offers a prayer to Hathor, and the mood shifts, the reverie tinged with reverence. You watch, the lotus flower brushing your cheek, and realize this festival isn't just fun, it's a balance, a moment of chaos sanctioned by the gods. You're grateful for the bread, the dance, the fleeting sense of belonging. But you're also aware of your limits. The crowd resumes, but you stay by the wall, your energy spent, your foot throbbing beneath its bandage. Ammonius appears, his expression unreadable, and gestures for you to follow. You're reluctant to leave, the festival's joy is a rare balm, but you trudge after him, the drums fading behind you. The Nile's glint catches your eye, tying this moment to the day's endless rhythm. You're surviving, but the festival has shown you another truth. Even joy here demands endurance, a price paid in sweat and dizzy steps. The lotus flower in your hair feels like a trophy, but as the village darkens, you wonder how much more this relentless day will ask of you before it lets you rest. The festival's fading drums echo in your ears as you follow Ammonius through the village's quieting paths, the lotus flower still tucked behind your ear, its petals wilting against your sweat-damp skin. The moon is high, casting a silver sheen over the mud-brick homes, and the Nile's distant murmur feels like a lullaby you can't quite trust. Your body is beyond exhaustion, blistered hands, aching back, a bandaged foot that protests each step, but now a new unease creeps in. Your skin feels hot, not just from the day's heat, and a faint shiver runs through you despite the warm night. You're about to face ancient Egypt's harshest truth: illness strikes without warning, and surviving a simple fever here is a gamble with stakes higher than any pyramid stone. You stumble, catching yourself against the wall, and Ammonius glances back, his brow furrowed. You wave him off, blaming fatigue, but the dizziness lingers, a fog settling in your limbs. The festival's beer, the Nile's murky dip, or maybe just the day's relentless toll, something's caught up with you. You recall that disease was a constant threat in ancient Egypt, around 2500 BCE, with malaria and other fevers plaguing those who lived by the river. No antibiotics, no hospitals, just healers and prayers against a foe you can't see. You touch the Horus amulet on your ankle, wishing its magic was more than symbolic. Ammonius leads you to the same healer's hut you visited earlier, its reed-draped doorway a familiar shadow. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of herbs and smoke, the oil lamp casting jittery light across the walls. The healer, her eyes sharp despite the late hour, takes one look at you and gestures to a reed mat. You collapse onto it, your head spinning, and she kneels beside you, her hands cool against your feverish brow. She mutters something, her tone calm but urgent, and you realize you're not just tired, you're sick, and this world's remedies are as daunting as the illness itself. She presses a clay cup to your lips, its contents bitter and gritty, maybe feverfew or another plant you can't name. You swallow, grimacing, and think of the willow bark tea from before, a faint hope it'll help. The healer's hands move quickly, mixing a paste of garlic and natron, which she smears on your chest. It stinks, but you're too weak to protest. You recall that Egyptian healers often combine practical treatments with spells, believing illness stemmed from both physical and spiritual causes. Historians still debate how effective these remedies were, but lying here, shivering under her touch, you're praying for a miracle, garlic or not. A peculiar detail catches your fading attention. A small clay figure on the table, shaped like a coiled snake, its eyes painted red. It's a ward against disease, you guess, or a plea to Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of healing and plagues. The healer murmurs a chant, her words rhythmic, and you wonder if she's bargaining with the divine on your behalf. Your modern mind, trained on science, wants to scoff, but the fever's haze makes the snake's stare feel alive. You chuckle weakly, imagining a hospital chart. Patient treated with snake statue and enthusiasm. Prognosis vibes. The room swims. And you close your eyes, the healer's voice a distant anchor. You think of the Nile, its parasites lurking in every ripple, and the festival's crowded chaos, a perfect breeding ground for fever. Back home, you'd pop a pill and sleep it off. Here, you're at the mercy of herbs, chance, and a woman who's seen too many fevers and badly. Your skin burns, then chills, and you curl tighter on the mat, the reeds weave digging into your side. The healer drapes a linen cloth over you, its weight both comforting and suffocating. Her apprentice, the boy from before, brings a bowl of water, and the healer sponges your face, the coolness a fleeting relief. You murmur thanks, your voice hoarse, and she nods, her expression unreadable. There's a quiet strength in her, a resilience you envy. You wonder how many she's saved, how many she's lost, in a world where a cut or a fever can steal a life overnight. The snake figure watches, and you feel a pang of gratitude for this woman's skill, even if it's wrapped in rituals you don't understand. The fever pulls you under, your thoughts fragmenting. You see flashes of the day, the pyramid's weight, the market's whirl, the temple's incense. Each moment feels like a thread, tying you to this unforgiving world. You laugh, a faint wheeze. picturing a modern pharmacy in ancient Egypt. Try our Sekhmet-approved fever tonic, now with 50% less snake. The humor fades as another shiver hits, and you cling to the healer's chant. Its rhythm a lifeline. You're not sure if it's working, but it's all you have, and you're too weak to question it. The night stretches, the hut's walls blurring in the lamp's flicker. You drift, half dreaming of the Nile, its waters both life and threat. You're surviving, but barely, the fever a reminder of how fragile you are here, where every breath is a roll of the dice. The healer's hands, the bitter tea, the snake's stare, they're your only armor, and you hope it's enough. Ammonius waits outside, his silhouette a shadow through the reeds. And you wonder if you'll rise to follow him, or if this hut will be where your day ends, the Nile's pulse outlasting your own. The dawn's golden light spills over the Nile, softening the village's edges as you sit by the river's bank, your weary body cradled by the cool, silted earth. The moon, a faint crescent, clings to the sky, reluctant to fade, while the Nile hums its endless song, a whisper of reeds and water that's carried you through this unrelenting day. Your hands, blistered from fields and chisels, rest in your lap. The Horus amulet a gentle weight on your ankle, its presence a quiet tether to this ancient world. The fever's heat has left you, thanks to the healer's bitter tea and steady hands. But your bones still hum with the day's trials, wheat harvests, pyramid stones, market chaos, and the festival's dizzying whirl. You're here, alive, and as the day closes, you find a moment to breathe. To let the Nile's rhythm wrap you in its timeless embrace. The river stretches before you, its surface a canvas of dawn's pinks and golds, reflecting the stars that linger in the paling sky. You trace its flow with your eyes, seeing not just water but the pulse of a civilization, feeding fields, floating stones, binding lives from pharaoh to farmer. You think back to the barley you hoed, its roots stubborn as the desert's edge, and the pyramid block you hauled, its weight a hymn to human will. The market's onion, the temple's petals, the healer's snake charm, they weave a story of survival, not just yours but countless others, etched into this land around 2500 BC. You're no historian, but sitting here, the silt soft beneath you, you feel their echoes, their resilience a warmth that settles in your chest. A fish leaps, its splash a fleeting spark on the water, and you smile, remembering the ibises at the festival, their wings carrying prayers to the gods. You spot a reed bending in the breeze, its tip brushing the surface, and recall the quirky details that colored your day, the crocodile dung sunscreen, the moldy bread medicine, the clay lion guarding your restless sleep. Each oddity, born of necessity, was a thread in Egypt's tapestry, a testament to a people who turned dust and river into eternity. You chuckle softly, your voice hoarse, imagining a modern museum label. Ancient Egyptian survival kit, includes garlic paste and questionable beer. It'd draw a crowd. But they'd miss the heart of it, the quiet strength of those who lived it. Your lotus flower, wilted from the festival, floats away on the current. A small offering to the river that's both friend and foe. You think of the Nile's parasites, the fever's grip, and how close you came to breaking. Yet here you are, held by the same waters that tested you, their flow a reminder that survival is more than enduring, it's finding meaning in the struggle. You recall the artisan's steady hands, the vendor's gifted bread, the dancer's fleeting grin, moments of humanity that stitched you into this world, however briefly. Historians still debate whether Egypt's people thrived on faith or stubborn grit, but you see both, woven into every loaf, every prayer, every drop of sweat you shed beside them. The village stirs behind you, its people rising to meet another day, women with water jars, men with sickles, children chasing reed balls. You imagine their lives stretching forward, their stories lost to time yet alive in the river's ceaseless flow. Your own story, a single day in their world, feels small but heavy, a lesson in how much a heart can carry. You touch the bandage on your foot, the garlic paste still clinging to your skin, and feel a quiet pride. You didn't belong here, not really, but you walked their paths, shared their bread, and felt their God's gaze. That's enough, more than enough, to carry back to your own time. The sun climbs, its warmth kissing your face, and you lean back, the silt cradling you like an old friend. The Nile's murmur fills the silence, a lullaby older than memory, and you let it wash over you, smoothing the edges of your exhaustion. You've seen Egypt's heart, its labor, its faith, its fragile joys, and you've learned what it means to endure, to find light in the grind. The river flows on, carrying secrets you'll never know, but for now, it's yours, a gentle guide to rest. Now you can close your eyes and let the currents of time take you away, back to your world, where air conditioning and aspirin wait, but where the Nile's lessons linger. A whisper of strength you didn't know you had. You breathe deep, the air sweet with dawn's promise, and let your eyelids fall, the river's song your final companion. The stars fade, the village hums, and you drift, not to sleep but to somewhere softer, where history's weight lifts and all that remains is gratitude. You've survived ancient Egypt, not by might but by stumbling, learning, leaning on hands that reached across millennia. The Nile keeps its secrets, but it's given you this, a story to carry, a warmth to hold, a truth that survival is a gift, shared by all who've walked its banks. And as the light grows, you rest, knowing you've touched eternity, if only for a day.